Tonight, hit to the bottom line, a look at international students in Northern Lights College. Hospital diversion. The ER in Dawson Creek closed for the second time this week, and the North Peace Airport looks to help prevent human trafficking. Good evening and thank you very much for joining us. And we begin tonight with the number of international students coming to Canada. Last year, the federal government capped the number of permits because foreign students were adding to the national housing crisis. But this year, that decision is having a major impact on campuses right across the country. As Noah Abel reports, here in the Peace region, there are still problems, but not to the same degree.
As students are enjoying their summer, colleges and universities across Canada continue to see a decline in international enrollment. That's because last year, the federal government announced a 35% reduction in study permits to help ease a national housing shortage in regions with a high number of foreign students.
In different countries, the situation is not that nice, and you came for looking opportunities and looking to belong and looking to improve yourself.
Here in Dawson Creek, Northern Lights College is seeing a decrease in international students. The college has seen a drop in tuition, but when asked about layoffs to instructors and staff, President Todd Bondaroff wouldn't say specifically what the impact has been.
We are seeing today fewer international students being able to come to Canada and come and study at our college in particular.
A third of the students enrolled at the school are from other countries. In 2024, Ottawa set the cap for foreign students at 360,000 permits. This year, that number has been decreased by another 10%.
We were able to sustain the amount of applications that comes in for future intakes. Now, we done our job. We did everything we can on that front. It now is left to the federal government, RCC, to process the application.
May says the college hoped the federal government begins to approve more applications in the near future. According to Edu Canada, international students pay on average 3 to 5 times more tuition than domestic students. Bondaroff says the college understands the commitment it takes to come to the Peace region. He adds NLC has maintained the lowest tuition rate for international students in the province.
I came to Dawson Creek, which is a small city, and I was like, no, this is not something for me. Then a few days, I was like, I think this was the best decision I ever made.
While the cap is affecting the school's bottom line, the college is not planning on increasing tuition for domestic students. Noah Abel, CJDC-TV News, Dawson Creek.
For the second time in the last 3 days, the emergency room at the Dawson Creek Hospital is on diversion. The ER is expected to remain closed until 10 o'clock tonight. Northern Health taking to social media just before 1 this afternoon to announce the closure. Now, the health authority not saying what time the diversion started, but once again, staffing challenges are being listed as the blame. Patients in need of life-threatening emergency care are being advised to call 911 to be transported to Fort St. John or the nearest available hospital. Now, Fort St. John City Council recognizing a former mayor with its highest honor. Steve Thorklaxon was presented the Freedom of the City Award Tuesday night at City Hall in recognition of his lasting impact on the community. Thorklaxon was first elected as an alderman in 1986. He then became mayor in 1990, a position he held for 15 years. Thorklaxon recognized the inequity of northern communities serving as an essential industrial hub while receiving limited support. He championed the development of the Fair Share Agreement, which is now known as the Peace River Agreement. Current Mayor Lilia Hansen saying, quote, Steve's leadership laid the foundation for our city's long-term success. His impact touches every corner of our community and will be felt for generations, unquote. And police in Fort St. John making a public plea for witnesses. Mounties asking anyone who may have witnessed an arson to come forward. A barbershop in the 9200 block of 100th Street was deliberately set on fire this past weekend, according to police. Now, the business is destroyed, with the owner saying he feels violated. And police are looking through CCTV footage for suspects. They say their arson investigation is now in its early stages. Mounties are asking anyone with any information to come forward or to call Crime Stoppers. The North Peace Regional Airport taking steps to help end human trafficking and sexual exploitation. The airport is partnering with the organization #NotInMyCity to educate staff and passengers. Now, airport staff will be trained to improve their ability to identify and disrupt human trafficking. Organizers say airports play a critical role in identifying and preventing human trafficking across Canada. The North Peace Regional Airport saw just over 250,000 commercial passengers last year. We're learning today that NORAD scrambled U.S. fighter jets to the Vancouver airport yesterday. It happened after a small plane was stolen in Victoria by a man claiming it was a hijacking. The incident had air traffic controllers aborting landings as well as grounding and diverting flights. Audio recordings reveal exactly what they were dealing with. Andrew Johnson has more from Vancouver.
They are trained to keep their cool under any circumstances, and that comes through in the recordings of air traffic controllers dealing with an unfolding crisis.
We do have an aircraft that has been hijacked, is in the vicinity of the airport.
With a small plane that took off from Victoria circling Vancouver International Airport at low altitude, no one knew what could happen next.
Yeah, there's a little Cessna orbiting the airport, trying to stop everyone from going flying for some reason.
It all started at the Victoria Flying Club Tuesday, where sources confirm a man had booked a Cessna tour. Sometime before takeoff, the man threatened the pilot with a knife, then stole the plane and headed for YVR.
Vancouver is a major international airport, and so nobody knew whether the person had nefarious intent and intended to hurt themselves or to crash into somewhere on the Vancouver airport.
According to sources, the man piloting the plane indicated his intention was to shut down the airspace for hours to bring attention to the climate crisis. Flights in and out of YVR were grounded, while air traffic controllers worked to send incoming planes somewhere else.
Vancouver's first line of duty is to protect any other aircraft coming into the field, which they did. They diverted 9 flights as far away as Calgary and Seattle.
The pilot landed 35 minutes later and was arrested on the runway. He was the only person on board. RCMP have not identified the suspect or potential charges.
Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
It's been a year since the release of a report looking into the horrific torture and death of a boy in the Fraser Valley at the hands of his foster parents. An advocate says changes have been made to protect children in care in British Columbia, but more work is needed. Here's CTV's Michelle Bernaro with the update and a warning. Some of our viewers may find the details of this story disturbing.
It's been more than 4 years since this Indigenous boy was beaten to death by caregivers, and not a day passes that his grandmother doesn't miss him.
I think of him and I see that big smile of his.
We can't identify the 11-year-old nor his grandmother because of a court publication ban, but we know the horrors that led to his death included months of neglect, beatings, and torture by his foster parents. A report called Don't Look Away made a series of recommendations after failures by protection workers who hadn't seen the child for 7 months prior to his death. A year later, the ministry says it's taken action on 65% of those recommendations.
Probably a good half of them, there's actions that have been taken that are encouraging. Others are in the early stages, and some are awaiting the formulation of that action plan and the strategy in order to be able to move forward.
We have done a number of things to better our system. So we have completed training with all child protection workers. We have increased our IT services in our provincial centralized screening.
It's a start, and I just hope more people can use these resources.
But the representative made it clear there's still much more work to be done, including providing better income and housing supports for family and ensuring that extended family caregivers are provided with the resources they need. Charlesworth estimates BC is short hundreds of social workers, with many vacancies remaining unfilled, though the minister said her ministry is not only spending more, but has increased staffing.
We've increased our workforce by 20%, and we're taking a number of actions to ensure that our child protection workers have the tools that they need.
That 20% seems inflated to us.
Need to hire more people, need more resources.
Meanwhile, the grandmother is hopeful the changes resulting from her grandson's death will stop other children from getting hurt.
It's up to us to make our voice heard for the elder children, right?
Michelle Bernoro, CTV News, Vancouver.
As Canadians continue to face a housing affordability challenge, there's some welcome news on the number of new homes being built across the country. National housing starts have increased by 3.6% in the first 6 months of the year compared to last year, but the situation is varied in Canada's biggest cities. Vancouver saw a huge increase driven by multi-unit starts, while both Toronto and Montreal are building fewer homes year over year. First Nations are fine-tuning their expectations ahead of a key meeting with the Prime Minister tomorrow. The summit was called in a bid to ease concerns about a contentious major projects law. Indigenous stakeholders say Bill C-5 fast-tracks development without their consent. CTV's Rachel Aiello reports.
First Nations leaders set expectations today for tomorrow's big gathering in Gatineau.
This is not consultation. This is a first meeting of many. This discussion will be led by us.
The Prime Minister organized the meeting to discuss the implementation of Bill C-5 after Indigenous stakeholders felt their rights were not respected in the rush to pass it through Parliament. They now want Carney to listen.
We're going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he produces tomorrow.
I'm a bit more cynical. I do agree. I mean, just look at the process.
9 Ontario First Nations, though, aren't waiting, launching a legal challenge to the federal law and a similar provincial plan to try and prevent both governments from using their new powers to sidestep existing protections.
These bills from Ontario and Canada show that the Crown has no interest in reconciliation.
Today, Carney was asked,
have your belated consultations jeopardized the goal of getting new projects built?
Well, first, no.
He went on to say tomorrow's talks are about engaging on how to work together in the future.
What are the priorities? That's before any consultation on any specific project.
The Ontario government is also consulting First Nations this summer, with Premier Doug Ford's office promising to build consensus around projects that support prosperity. And Carney has additional plans to have conversations with Inuit and Métis leaders in the coming weeks. Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Gatineau.
U.S. President Donald Trump's trade war is already having an impact on some Canadian auto businesses. Now, a survey from the Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses shows that the revenue of nearly 190 small to medium-sized businesses in the auto sector in Canada has declined by 13% on average. It says half of those businesses have paused or canceled investments because of uncertainty caused by the trade war and tariffs. And the Prime Minister was in Hamilton today with a message for Canadian steel industry. He says Canada will become its own best customer as he introduces new measures to help support the sector. CTV's Heather Wright has more.
This Hamilton, Ontario steel fabricator has been in business for 70 years and had been sending nearly 70% of its products south of the border. Now that number is close to zero.
This is Steel Town for a reason.
Today, the Prime Minister was in Hamilton announcing measures to help Canada's steel industry. By the end of the month, Ottawa will tighten the quota for steel coming from countries without a free trade agreement like China and Turkey to half of 2024 levels. Anything beyond that will face a tariff of 50%. This measure is aimed at reducing foreign steel that has flooded the Canadian market, much of it diverted here after the United States imposed tariffs on the global steel industry in March. And with Canadian steel producers effectively shut out of the U.S., Mark Carney says this will help them sell their products domestically.
For Canada to build big things fast, we need our steel industry to advance, not retreat.
As Canada embarks on massive infrastructure spending, the Prime Minister also announced that any companies bidding on government projects will have to use Canadian steel.
We will change the federal government's procurement process to require companies contracting with the federal government to source Canadian steel for government contracts.
The tightened quota and increased support for laid-off workers announced today come after the steel industry said measures announced last month didn't go far enough.
We got things going on south of the border. We can't control all of that.
But what we can control is here in Canada. Let's make Canada the best.
Asked about ongoing trade negotiations with the United States, the Prime Minister would not say what level of tariffs Canada would accept, nor would he say whether Canada would impose additional retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods. He said both were good questions, but said answering them in the midst of trade talks would be a bad response. Heather Wright, CTV News, Hamilton, Ontario.
All right, Noah will be right back with weather after the break.